Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something a little different.
Yeah?
Don't Believe Everything You Think
Ooh, that's a good one.
by Joseph Nguyen.
I like it.
And we're working from the YouTube audiobook that's narrated by the author.
Okay.
So, if you want to get the core ideas without having to listen to the whole thing,
Yeah.
you're in the right place.
This is it.
And it's interesting is it's kind of exploring how our thinking shapes our experiences.
Yeah.
And how we can tap into, I don't know if I want to say tap into, but
Kind of
find a deeper well of joy and peace and all that stuff.
a deeper well, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little
It does.
woo at first glance,
Yeah.
but I have a feeling this is going to be a thought-provoking ride.
I think so too.
One of the things that Nguyen talks about right off the bat is this concept that joy is like our natural state.
Okay.
He uses babies as an example.
Yeah.
Like they're just blissful naturally,
Yes.
not full of worries and anxieties like us grown-ups.
Yeah, like they're not thinking about their taxes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like this idea that, we're not born into suffering.
Yeah.
We kind of learn to create it through our thinking.
I like that. I like that take on it.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, what happened along the way?
Yeah. Where did we go wrong? What
Yeah.
happened? Well,
Where did we go wrong?
not necessarily go wrong,
Okay.
but he argues that it's about developing patterns
Okay.
of thinking that disconnects us from that innate joy
Yeah,
that we start with.
I can get down with that.
And he uses this really interesting example. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
Of two people sitting in the same coffee shop,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
same coffee, same atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
One person's totally stressed out, lost in their worries.
Yes.
The other is totally content, people watching,
I remember.
enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
And Nguyen is pointing out how their internal experience
Totally different.
is totally different, even though the external reality is the same.
Exactly.
So it's really underscoring the power of perception.
Yes.
The idea that our thoughts about an event
Mm-hmm.
are often the source of our suffering,
Not the event itself.
not the event itself exactly.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because that means we have so much more agency than
Yeah.
we realize.
over our experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not about changing the world.
Yeah.
It's about changing our lens, our way of thinking about it.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
And then he goes even deeper.
Oh, okay.
He makes this distinction between thoughts and thinking.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what's the...
So he uses this thought experiment. I don't know if you remember this one.
Okay.
He asks you to imagine your dream income
Okay.
and then multiply it by 5.
Got it.
And how did that feel?
Just thinking about my dream income times 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well, the initial thought itself
Mm.
is usually pretty neutral for me, maybe even exciting,
Okay.
but it's when I start thinking about it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the doubts, the fears, the comparisons, all that stuff.
Yes. Yes.
That's when the negative emotions start to swirl.
Yeah. I'll never get there.
Right.
Or that's so greedy.
That's not even possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's those initial thoughts,
The raw material,
they're just neutral data points.
just data.
Yeah. It's the stories we spin around them.
Yeah.
The judgments we layer on top.
Stories, the judgments.
That create the suffering.
That's where the suffering comes in.
Yes.
It's not the thought itself.
That's the thinking.
It's the thinking.
Exactly.
He's essentially saying we have this incredible capacity to create our own reality,
Yeah.
but often we're using that power
To create one.
to create one full of stress and anxiety.
Full of unnecessary suffering.
Unnecessary, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, if thinking is the culprit, does that mean we should just try to stop thinking altogether?
It's a good question. A lot of people have that.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we function in the world without thinking?
Yeah. How do we do anything?
Yeah.
Well, he addresses this in the book.
Okay.
He points to athletes.
Okay.
The flow state.
Okay.
When they're performing at their peak,
Uh-huh.
they're not overthinking.
Right.
They're tapping into this state of effortless action.
It's like when you're completely absorbed in something you love.
Totally.
Time flies by.
Yeah.
You're not second-guessing every move.
Yeah.
It's just pure presence and focus.
Pure being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this actually connects to Csikszentmihalyi's research on flow,
Oh, yeah.
where he found that people experience the most joy and fulfillment when they're engaged in activities that challenge them just enough,
I like it.
requiring skill and concentration,
Yes.
but not overwhelming them.
Makes sense.
So it's not about becoming mindless It's about accessing a different kind of mind.
Okay.
This state of non-thinking where we're fully present,
Yeah.
engaged in the moment,
Not lost in our thoughts.
rather than like lost in this labyrinth of our thoughts.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And he even suggests that this flow state might be a glimpse
Okay.
into our natural state,
Interesting.
like a way of being that's more aligned with our true nature,
I like that.
which makes me think about
Okay.
how we approach our goals.
Okay.
Because Nguyen talks about this distinction between goals that are driven by desperation
Okay.
versus those that are born from inspiration.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah, like think about the difference between
Yeah.
starting a business to escape a job you hate
Yeah.
versus starting a business because you're bursting with an idea that you feel compelled to share with the world.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
One feels heavy burdened.
Right.
The other one feels light energized.
Yes.
It's the difference between running from something and moving towards something you genuinely desire.
Totally. And it makes me wonder if those inspiration-driven goals are the ones that are more likely to lead us into that flow state, that
Yeah.
space of effortless action and joy.
Oh, yeah, totally. And you know what Nguyen suggests? That these inspiration goals, the ones that come from like a place of wholeness and alignment with our true selves,
Right.
those are the ones that are more likely to lead to both joy and success.
Yeah, it's almost like when we're operating from that space of inspiration, we're tapping into a different source of energy.
Yeah.
One that's not fueled by fear or scarcity, but like by a genuine desire to create and contribute.
Which brings us to another fascinating concept from the book,
Okay.
intuition.
Okay.
Nguyen describes intuition as our inner GPS,
Okay.
this subtle voice that guides us toward our highest potential.
I like that.
He even shares stories of people who followed their intuition in like seemingly illogical ways, and it led to these amazing outcomes.
Yeah. It's interesting how he positions intuition as this like innate wisdom that's always available to us, but it's often drowned out by the noise of our thinking minds.
Totally.
Yeah.
It makes you think of that saying, don't overthink it, just feel it.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Right. It's like when we quiet the mental chatter, we create space for that intuitive wisdom to emerge.
Yeah. And Nguyen really encourages us to cultivate faith in this inner voice,
Yeah.
to trust that it knows the way,
Even when it seems unclear.
even when the path ahead seems unclear.
Oh, absolutely.
It can feel really risky, can't it?
Oh, yeah?
Especially in a world that often prizes rationality and certainty above all else.
Totally. Speaking of vulnerability and trusting your gut, you mentioned a time in your career when you had to make a difficult decision,
Yeah.
one that went against conventional wisdom but felt aligned with your intuition. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I was early in my career, and I was offered a position on a prestigious research team.
Wow.
On paper, it was everything I'd ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
A brilliant team,
Yeah.
fascinating work, the potential to make a real impact. But there was this nagging feeling, this quiet voice inside that kept whispering,
Yeah.
this isn't the right path for you, not yet.
It's fascinating how sometimes our intuition sends us these subtle signals, these whispers that we often try to ignore.
It really is.
So what did you do?
Well, at first, I tried to rationalize the feeling away.
Sure.
I focused on all the logical reasons why I should accept the offer.
Okay.
But that inner voice persisted.
Yeah.
It got stronger the more I tried to push it down.
It sounds like your intuition was trying to tell you something important, trying to guide you towards a path that was more aligned with your true purpose.
That's exactly how it felt.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I decided to trust that inner voice, even though it meant turning down a seemingly once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Wow.
My colleagues, mentors, even some friends thought I was making a huge mistake.
But you knew in your gut that it was the right decision.
I did.
Yeah?
And it's amazing how life unfolds when we have the courage to follow those inner nudges. Even when they seem illogical or counterintuitive,
Yeah.
within a few months of declining that offer, another opportunity presented itself, one that was perfectly aligned with my passions and values.
Wow.
It was smaller in scale, less prestigious perhaps,
Uh-huh.
but it lit me up in a way that the previous opportunity hadn't.
And that's the work that ultimately led you to where you are today, doing the groundbreaking research you're now known for.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful example of how trusting our intuition, even when it feels scary or goes against the grain, can lead us to a path that's more fulfilling, more aligned with our deepest selves.
And it speaks to the power of creating space for miracles,
Oh, yes.
for those unexpected opportunities that align with our soul's purpose.
I love that.
And Nguyen actually talks about this in the book, the idea that when we quiet the mind, we open ourselves up to a realm of possibilities that we might have otherwise missed.
I love that concept. It's like we're clearing the static, tuning into a different frequency where miracles are more likely to occur. And it reminds me of that quote by Kyle Gray, "Today I make space for miracles." I recognize that it's not how big a miracle it is that's important, but how much room I create for it.
It's a beautiful invitation to approach life with a sense of wonder, with an openness to the unexpected.
Yeah.
And Nguyen provides some really practical tools for cultivating this mindset, for creating space for miracles in our lives.
Like what? What are some of the specific techniques he suggests?
Well, he talks about the importance of creating a non-thinking environment,
Okay.
both physically and mentally.
Okay.
He suggests doing an audit of our spaces, our schedules, even our social media feeds,
Yeah.
to identify what's amplifying the mental clutter and what's creating space for calm and clarity.
It's almost like a decluttering practice, but for our minds.
Exactly.
Getting rid of the mental and emotional baggage that's weighing us down and preventing us from accessing that deeper wisdom.
Yeah. And he also emphasizes the power of rituals,
Okay.
especially morning rituals, to set the tone for the day
Yeah.
and cultivate a state of non-thinking. He even provides specific exercises and prompts for creating a personalized ritual that works for you.
I love that he frames it as an activation ritual.
Yeah.
Like you're intentionally choosing the energy and mindset you want to embody for the day ahead.
It's about starting the day from a place of intentionality
Right.
rather than reacting to the demands of the external world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. Even a few minutes of meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in stillness can make a huge difference.
And I imagine this practice of creating a non-thinking environment and incorporating rituals into our lives can also help us approach our work in a more inspired and fulfilling way.
Absolutely. Nguyen actually offers a framework for implementing non-thinking into our work, focusing on identifying the tasks that drain our energy and those that truly light us up.
Okay.
He encourages us to gradually shift our focus towards the activities that bring us joy, that put us into that flow state.
It's about aligning our actions with our passions, creating a work life that feels more like a calling than a chore. And as we do more of what we love, we naturally become more productive, more creative, and more impactful.
It's a win-win, isn't it?
Totally.
And it's not just about work.
Right.
This approach can be applied to any area of our lives, from our relationships to our creative pursuits to our personal growth.
It's about bringing that intentionality, that awareness of our thinking patterns into every aspect of our experience.
Yeah. And I think one of the most powerful takeaways from the book is this idea that we don't have to figure it all out on our own.
Right.
We can tap into a deeper source of wisdom, whether we call it intuition, our higher self, or simply that quiet voice within.
It's a reminder that we're not alone, that there's a guiding force that's always available to us if we're willing to listen. And that makes me curious.
As you've been diving into the Nguyen's work, what's been resonating most deeply with you?
Honestly, it's how much time I spend in my head.
Yeah.
Worrying, overthinking, second-guessing myself.
Yeah.
It's like my default setting.
I think that's something so many of us can relate to.
Yeah.
We live in a culture that prizes busyness
Right.
and achievement.
Right.
So it's easy to get swept up in the doing and forget about the being.
Yeah. And that's where Nguyen's message really hits home.
Yeah.
He reminds us that peace, joy, and love aren't things we have to earn or achieve.
Right.
They're already within us.
Yeah.
It's about clearing a space for them to emerge.
It's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we're carrying all this mental clutter,
Uh-huh.
limiting beliefs and fears,
Yeah.
and it's blocking the light of our true nature.
Yeah. So the question becomes, how do we let go of that clutter?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate a state of non-thinking, not just for a few minutes during meditation, but like as a way of being in the world?
It's a practice.
Yeah.
An ongoing journey
Yeah.
of becoming more aware of our thoughts.
Noticing when we get caught in the mental chatter
Yeah.
and gently guiding our attention back to the present moment.
It's almost like we're training a muscle, the
Yeah.
muscle of awareness.
The muscle of awareness. I like
But
that.
as we get stronger,
Yeah.
it becomes easier to catch those negative thought patterns before they spiral out of control.
Exactly. And there's a sense of surrender in this process, too.
Yeah.
A recognition that we don't have to have all the answers, that we can lean into something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Whether that's intuition, a spiritual practice, or simply trusting the unfolding of life.
You know, this conversation has me thinking about those moments when we've felt most alive, most connected to something greater than ourselves.
Yes.
I bet a lot of those moments were when we weren't overthinking things, but rather just allowing ourselves to be fully present in the experience.
I think you're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Think about those times when you've felt a sense of awe in nature,
Mm-hmm.
or deep connection in a meaningful conversation,
Yeah.
or even just a simple moment of joy watching a child laugh.
Yeah.
We're not in our heads analyzing those moments.
Right.
We're simply experiencing them.
And those are the moments that often feel most memorable, most nourishing to our souls.
They really are.
It's like Nonian is inviting us to bring that same sense of presence, that same openness to our everyday lives.
And maybe, just maybe, as we cultivate that awareness and openness,
Yeah.
we'll find that the miracles we've been longing for were there all along.
What a beautiful thought to end on.
It is, isn't it?
The miracles are already here, just waiting for us to create space for them.
This has been such a rich conversation.
Yeah.
I always enjoy exploring these ideas with you.
Me too. And I hope our listeners have found it valuable as well.
Yeah.
If you're feeling inspired to dive deeper into Nguyen's work,
Yeah.
you'll find a link to the audiobook in our show notes.
And as you go about your day, your week, your life,
Yeah.
we invite you to consider this. What's one small step you can take towards quieting the mind, trusting your intuition, and creating space for something extraordinary to emerge?
Until next time, keep diving deep
Yeah.
and keep believing in the power of your own inner wisdom.